Good morning. Let's try it one more time. Other than the rules chairman. Your appropriations chairman is normally a cheerful human. Let's try this. Good morning. Well done. The hour of convening has arrived, and I'd ask that the Senate come to order. Chair would like to recognize the rules chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a lovely day here at our state capitol. I'm proud to be a part of the men and women here that are representing their districts like professionals, and those that don't, I'm not for them. Today, according to the senator from the 17th, 19th, today is Go Fly Your Kite Day. It's National Kite Flying Day. And it's also Georgia Farm Bureau Day. And according to the senator from the 3rd, it is Okefenokee Swamp Day here at the Capitol. The journal's been read and found to be correct, Mr. President.
When the senator from the 52nd walks by, you can have him fix that scarf in your pocket. That thing looks like it's about ready to fall out. Is there objection to dispensing with the reading of the journal? The chair hears none, and the reading of the journal is dispensed with. Is there objection to the confirmation of the journal? The chair hears none, and the journal is confirmed. All senators who have bills and resolutions, please bring them to the secretary's desk at this time. Mr. Secretary, first reading and reference of Senate bills and resolutions, please.
Senate Bill 467 by Senator C. of the 34th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 28 of the OCGA relating to general provisions concerning the General Assembly. So
Reapportionment.
Senate Bill 468 by Senators Jackson of the 41st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 5 of Chapter 9 of Title 45 of the OCGA relating to Georgia State Indemnification Fund.
Insurance and labor.
Senate Bill 469 by Senators Harper of the 7th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 7 of Title 52 of the OCGA relating to general provisions of registration, operation, and sale of watercraft.
Natural resources.
Senate Bill 470 by Senators Robertson of the 29th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 13 of Chapter 1 of Title 7 of the OCGA relating to licensing and mortgage lenders and mortgage brokers.
Banks and financial institutions.
Senate Bill 471 by Senators Robertson of the 29th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Sections 913.161 and 48.41 of the OCGA relating to where and when sales under education.
Judiciary.
Senate Bill 472 by Senator Kennedy of the 18th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 2 of Title 46 of the OCGA relating to organization and members of the Public Service Commission. So as to
Reapportionment.
Senate Resolution 450 by Senators Mullis of the 53rd and others, a bill to resolution creating the Senate Study Committee on Georgia Music Heritage and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Rules. First reading and reference of House bills and resolutions, please.
House Bill 780 by Representatives Leverett of the 33rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 47 of the OCGA relating to retirement and pensions so as to provide for membership of full-time judges and statewide. House Bill 826 by Representatives Earhart of the 36th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to incorporate the city of Lost Mountain.
Slogo General.
House Bill 840 by Representatives Carson of the 46th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to incorporate the city of Vinings, to provide a charter, to provide for penalties, to provide for definitions and construction.
Slogo General.
House Bill 872 by Representatives Park of the 101st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act relating to education districts for the election of members of the Board of Education of Gwinnett County.
Slogo.
House Bill 891 by Representatives Williamson of the 115th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 1 of Title 7 of the OCGA relating to financial institutions so as to provide for numerous updates to amend Chapter 3 of Title 7 of the OCGA.
Banking and financial institutions.
House Bill 899 by Representatives Williamson of the 115th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Title 13 of the OCGA relating to contracts so as to provide for the legal effects of the discontinuance of LIBOR-bond contracts.
Banking and financial institutions.
House Bill 1032 by Representatives Corbett of the 174th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners for Charlton County, approved August 4th, 1927, as amended particularly by an act approved.
Slogo.
House Bill 1055 by Representatives Ridley of the 6th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 41.1 of the OCGA relating to definitions relative to motor vehicles and traffic.
Transportation.
House Bill 1101 by Representative Green of the 151st, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing a homestead exemption for Early County.
Slogo.
House Bill 1102 by Representative Green of the 151st, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Early County.
Slow go.
House Bill 1104 by Representative Houston of the 170th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Cook County.
Slow go.
House Bill 1105 by Representative Houston of the 170th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Cook County Board of Education. Approved.
Slow go.
House Bill 1106 by Representatives Williams of the 148th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Wilcox County.
Slow go.
House Bill 1108 by Representatives Rhodes of the 120th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners
Slow
of Putnam.
go.
House Bill 1109 by Representative Mathick of the 73rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act establishing the Griffin Spalding
Slow
County.
go.
House Bill 1110 by Representatives Mathick of the 73rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Spalding County.
Slow go.
House Bill 1111 by Representatives Meeks of the 178th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Pierce County. Approved.
Slow
March.
go.
House Bill 1112 by Representative Meeks of the 178th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing for the composition and selection of the Board of Education of Pierce County. Approved.
Slow go.
House Bill 1113 by Representative Perkle of the 155th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Ben Hill County.
Slow go.
House Bill 1114 by Representative Benton of the 31st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to reconstitute the law governing the Jackson County.
Slow go.
House Bill 1115 by Representative Benton of the 31st, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing a new charter of the City of Commerce.
Slow go.
House Bill 1116 by Representative Benton of the 31st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to create a Board of County Commissioners for the County of Jackson.
Slow go.
House Bill 1117 by Representative Stevens of the 164th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to authorize the assessment and collection of a technology fee by the State Court of Bryan County.
Slow go.
House Bill 1118 by Representatives Ballinger of the 23rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing for the numbering of positions and membership of
Slow
Cherokee
go.
County. House Bill 1119 by Representatives Campbell of the 171st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act relating to the Board of Commissioners of Decatur County.
Slow go.
House Bill 1122 by Representatives Campbell of the 171st and others, a bill to be entitled an act to providing for the composition of
Slow go.
House Bill 1123 by Representatives Hogan of the 179th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing for the Board of Education of Glenn County, approved February 21st.
Slow go.
House Bill 1124 by Representatives Blackman of the 146th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act reconstituting the Board of Education of Houston County, approved March 31st, 1994.
Slow go.
House Bill 1125 by Representative Perkle of the 155th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing for the composition of the Bellantino County.
Slow go.
House Bill 1126 by Representative Deloche of the 167th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Education of McIntosh County, approved March 14th.
Slow go.
House Bill 1127 by Representatives Carpenter of the 4th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Whitfield County, approved.
Slow go.
House Bill 1128 by Representatives Carpenter of the 4th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act to revise and restate the law relating to the Whitfield County Board of
Slow
Education.
go.
House Bill 1129 by Representatives Corbett of the 174th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing for the election of the members of the Board of Education of Charlton
Slow
County.
go.
House Bill 1135 by Representative Smith of the 78th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing for the composition of the Board of Education of Coweta County, approved March 5th, 1984.
Slow go.
House Bill 1136 by Representative Smith of the 70th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Coweta County, approved August 26, 1872, as
Slow
amended.
go.
House Bill 1139 by Representative Werkheiser of the 157th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act for the election of members of the Board of Education of
Slow
Tatnall.
go.
House Bill 1140 by Representative Irwin of the 28th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act changing the method of choosing members of the Banks County Board of Education, approved April 4th,
Slow go.
House Bill 1141 by Representative Irwin of the 28th, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners for Banks County, approved.
Slow go.
House Bill 1142 by Representative Gaines of the 117th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act providing for the merger of the existing independent school system of the Marion County Council.
Slow go.
House Bill 1143 by Representative Ballinger of the 23rd and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Cherokee County, approved March 30th, 1989,
And
as
last
amended.
but not least, slow go.
That completes the order, Mr. President.
That's a lot of slow goes. Ms. Secretary, can you please read the reports of standing committees?
Mr. President, the Senate Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 316 do pass by substitute. Respectfully submitted, Senator Strickland of the 17th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on State and Local Government Operations has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 436 do pass, Senate Bill 450 do pass, Senate Bill 451 do pass, Senate Bill 462 do pass, House Bill 945 do pass, House Bill 946 do pass, House Bill 980 do pass, House Bill 983 do pass, House Bill 1012 do pass, House Bill 1014 do pass, House Bill 1015 do pass, House Bill 1016 do pass, House Bill 1017 do pass, House Bill 1023 do pass, House Bill 1024 do pass, House Bill 1025 do pass, House Bill 1026 do pass, House Bill 1027 do pass, House Bill 1060 do pass, House Bill 1061 do pass, House Bill 1063 do pass, House Bill 1066 do pass, House Bill 1067 do pass, House Bill 1073 do pass, House Bill 1074 do pass, House Bill 1075 do pass, House Bill 1076 do pass, House Bill 1081 do pass, House Bill 1082 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Anderson of the 24th District Chairman. Mr. President, the Senate Committee on State and Local Government Operations has had under consideration the following legislation and has instructed me to report the same back to the Senate with the following recommendation. Senate Bill 437 do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Anderson of the 24th District Chairman. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Ms. Secretary, can you please read bills and resolutions for the second time?
Senate Bill 396 by Senator Goodman of the 8th and others, Georgia State Nutrition Assistant Program, SNAP, renamed such program to Georgia Grown Farm and Food Bank Program, F2FB. Senate Bill 404 by Senator Albers of the 56th and others, Emergency Medical Services Personnel, Georgia Bureau of Investigation and Federal Bureau of Investigation to retain certain fingerprints under certain conditions, authorized. House Bill 841 by Representative Dollar of the 45th and others, East Cobb City of Incorporate. That completes the order, Mr. President.
All right, it's now time for our morning roll call. Feels like we've had a busy morning already. Time for our morning roll call. Are there any motions to excuse? Looks like a pretty packed room. Chair recognizes the senator from the 39th.
Good morning, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 41st.
Without objection, the senator from the 41st is excused. Any additional motions to excuse? Chair recognizes the senator from the 22nd.
I'd like unanimous consent, Mr. President, to excuse the senator from the 43rd.
Without objection, the senator from the 43rd is excused. The chair recognizes the senator from the 40th.
Good morning, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 26th.
Without objection, the senator from the 26th is excused. The chair recognizes his good friend, the senator from the 33rd, y'all.
Good morning, y'all. Thank you, Mr. President. I ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 36th for business inside the Capitol.
Without objection, the senator from the 36th is excused. You must have like a morning hotline where they call in and leave their district number. All right, the secretary will call the roll of senators. Signify your presence by voting the A switch. The secretary will unlock the machine. All right, it's now time for a morning devotional, and I'd ask that all senators take your seats, cease all audible conversations, and doorkeepers, please secure the chamber at this time. It's my honor to recognize the distinguished senator from the 29th to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance and to introduce to us our chaplain of the day.
Colleagues, if you will, please rise and let's recognize our American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now our glorious state flag. I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, moderation, and courage. Thank you. Colleagues, I learned early in my law enforcement career that the secret to being successful is having the knowledge necessary to go out and do the job. And I realized as a fractured soul, as we all are when we're born onto this planet, that the most important part of my job and the most important part of me that I needed to take care of was my mental health and my spiritual wealth. And so, as a single father, I started searching for the perfect place to go and get that education and that support. And I found it at First Baptist Church in Columbus, Georgia. It's not the glorious structure that drew me there, but it was the teacher who resides there who each and every week offered the lesson that I needed as a law enforcement officer and as a single father to go out and do what I was supposed to do, what was right. And by watching this man and becoming a student to this man, I realized why in Columbus, Georgia, not is he only known as the pastor of First Baptist Church, but he's known as Dr. James Elder, and in many circles he's known as the Bishop of Columbus, because people that have never met him will be at the hospital at 4 a.m. in the morning for outpatient surgery, and he's there because a cousin of a friend of somebody called and said that they had a family member that was at the hospital. And all it's done is generate a lot of love in our community and also generated a lot of jealousy amongst the other churches. But Dr. James Elder is a proud graduate of Mercer, got his doctorate at Princeton, and continues to work hard within the community. He was one of the 4 horsemen, as we call them, that brought Mercer Medical School to Columbus, along with Pete Robinson, Mr. Tom Black, and Chairman Richard Smith from over in the House side. These 4 men came up with this idea and pushed it forward in our community is what it is today. And he is the person that drove me to Plains, Georgia, so that I could see the Mercer Clinic there, which we now have a Mercer Clinic in my home county of Harris County, thanks to him accommodating me when I asked the questions. So it gives me great honor to recognize my teacher and the man that I hope will have an altar call at the end of today so that my brother from the 15th can get right, Dr. James Elder.
Thank you, Randy. That is humbling, to say the least. A point of personal privilege, thank you for recognizing Pete Robinson yesterday. What a gift that is for a really great man and was a very dear friend of mine. Lieutenant Governor Duncan, Randy, Ed Harbison, my friend, I am very honored to be here and very grateful to be a part of this. I have such deep respect for Randy and for his place in my life and in our church, his leadership in our church and our community. And Ed, I have such respect for you as well. You've been a good friend for a long time as well. For almost 11 years, I was pastor in Moultrie, Georgia. And there I began a practice at the church of something that I've learned a lot from, and it's been a blessing to me in a lot of ways, been a part of my life in a lot of ways, and that was to do what we call a children's message at the morning service. So I'll bring the children down, we'll have the message, but I learned there too late, but I learned there that you do not ask a lot of questions of the children because you have no idea what they're going to say when you ask them. I asked a question one time there that I'll never forget. There was a little boy named Bradford. He was a precocious young man. He always had the answers to anything that you asked. And so I asked the question, I said, "Do you know what a secret is?" And Bradford said, "Oh, Mr. Jimmy, I know. And I said, "Okay, Bradford, what is a secret?" And he said, "A secret is that my dad got a new job and he's going to quit tomorrow and he hadn't told his boss yet, and it's a secret right now." And I looked and his mom turned blood red, his dad just dropped his head, and his boss looked really surprised on the other side of the sanctuary. Secrets can be used in a lot of different ways. Sometimes they are surprises, and sometimes they're revealing. So today I want to share a secret with each of you. Each of you have been asked, of course, to serve the people of Georgia in this esteemed place. You've come with a full intention to serve and represent in the best way possible, carrying on the great tradition of leadership and paving the way for progress here in our great state of Georgia. And I'm honored to stand before you. I deeply respect and appreciate all that you do. The secret is that this is really not a position of power. It is far more than that, far more than power. The quest for power is seductive and is consuming. And we see a moment in Scripture in Matthew 20, verses 22 and 23, when the mother of James and John, two of Jesus' disciples, came to Jesus and asked him to give her sons positions of power when Jesus came into his kingdom. It was one of the things that a mother might do. It was something that probably the disciples wanted, and it was something that Jesus responded to. And what he said is really quite interesting. It's a wonderful response. He said, "You don't know what you're asking." And then Jesus looked at the disciples, and what he said was, "Can you drink the cup I'm going to drink?" And they said, "Well, we can." And Jesus said to them, "You will indeed drink from the cup, but to sit at my right or left is not for me to grant. These places belong to those for whom they have been prepared by my Father." The question is whether there is something that power bows before. It bows before the will and the purpose of God. And how do we achieve that? We achieve it through service. That's the beautiful part. The Scripture even says, "By love, serve one another." Love doesn't care about power, but it cares deeply about actually doing good things and serving other lives. When we do good things and serve well, we build strong reputations. And strong reputations build influence and respect. And influence and respect make a difference, and they draw the power that needs to be there. In essence, seeking a place of power is empty and really is unworthy of the human experience. Earning the respect that creates clout, which is greater than power, is a worthy use of the brief time that we have on life's stage. I learned this from a man I respect deeply, on whose board I was about to serve. As I was going on the trustees, he sat us down at orientation, and he looked at us and he said, "All of you who are here are about to be trustees." And so we felt a little bit of our oats at that point. And he said, "Let me tell you something about that. You have no power." Everybody gasped a little bit. We're going on your trustees and you're telling us we have no power. And then he took one breath and said, "But you have a lot of clout." And then he followed it up by saying, "That will be in direct proportion to the service that you render." That clout would give us influence that was stronger than power. Power can be won or lost, given or taken, seized or even stolen. It can be conferred in an election or taken away in another, but the power of clout is vested in integrity and in character of the individual. It cannot be taken from us, It's only forfeited when our character fails. So we're totally in control of that. When the disciples sought through their mother positions of power, Jesus said that they were looking in the wrong place. Those seats would be given to those for whom God had prepared them. Power is granted by God to those who know how to serve. And the clout of a servant life is a qualification for having the kind of influence that most seek in power. A part of the preparation would be in how they respond to God's calling to serving others in love, grace, mercy, and care. The quest for power can destroy a person, or an institution, or a business, or even a family. The quest to serve only serves to build up and make better our lives and the world around us. We grew up in a city where there was a man who owned a feed and seed store. He never held a position of power, but he was a man of character, of integrity, and of service. In short, he had an enormous amount of clout. He was faithful to his church. He was kind to those in his community. He loved the area and the people of the area. And I was amazed to see how virtually every person of power in town, mayors, commissioners, judges, bankers, business people, school superintendent, legislators, would all just drop by his feed and seed store to ask him for advice. They may have had the power, but he had the clout. They served for a term, but he influenced for a lifetime. They made decisions, but he influenced the decision by tempering them with love and wisdom. He influenced the life of a little boy who still considers him part of everything that I do. That's clout. It's something that goes with you. It's something no one ever takes away. And no term of clout ever expires. Gandhi once said that the day the power of love overrules the love of power, the world will know peace. And Martin Luther King Jr. said, power without love is reckless and abusive, and love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands against love. He, my friends, understood the juxtaposition between power and clout. May all of us know the secret as we seek to serve using clout as we've been given the opportunity. May God bless you. You are good people. We treasure what you do. We do not take you for granted. And yes, we do respect you and appreciate the time you put in. And when I know someone like Randy with clout, then it qualifies that respect in this chamber. May God bless each of you. Will you pray with me? Our gracious Lord, please remove from our hearts a love for power and replace it with a higher desire to serve. May you be pleased with what we offer, magnify it, make it effective, empower it as an agent of good. And may you receive the honor and the glory as we use the clout you allow us to have to serve your people. In your precious name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Senate will come back to order. Are there any unanimous consents? The chair sees none. I want to give us a point of reference here. All right, as a point of reference, today is the state of the judiciary, as we've mentioned several times leading up to today. The goal is to be aligned and ready to walk over there in 8 minutes. 8 minutes. So I'm going to ask you to self-police yourself with points of personal privilege and let us know that we got 8 minutes. And then the plan is we will stand in recess, go over there, and then come back to take up the rest of the day's work, including the rules calendar. So just as planning purposes, we will leave the chamber, go to the state of the judiciary, and then come back and start working again. So nobody jump out of here too quickly. Chair recognizes the senator from the 20th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very proud to have the Perry Youth Leadership Group with us here today in the gallery. They're sponsored by the Perry Area Chamber of Commerce, and I wanted us to please recognize them. Let's give them a round of applause. One of their chaperones or escorts today is Houston County Commissioner Dan Perdue. Some of you may know Dan's father, and many of you may know Dan, but welcome, Commissioner, also. A couple of announcements. The Farm Bureau, today is Farm Bureau Day, and the Farm Bureau Luncheon is in the Freight Depot starting at 12, and the program starting at 12:30, and you are all invited. Also, between the Capitol and the CLOB is the Georgia Ag Experience Mobile Classroom, so check that out. Thank you. Bye.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 17th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I've got Senator from the 43rd joining me as well. We have some great folks from Newton County. Speaking of being Farm Bureau Day, we have some folks, young farmer members, Julius Hayes and Kevin Mitchum, County Extension Agent Ashley Bess. We also have FFA members from Newton County, including Tripp Marks, Ryan Sewell, Lizzie Paul, and Cindy Ramos, and of course their teacher, Marcus Pollard, all joined us today. You guys please stand and let us recognize you. Thank you for joining us today.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 26th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Benjamin E. Mays made a statement. I only have a minute, only 60 seconds in it. It's up to me to use it or abuse it. Dr. King died for what he believed in. He was young, but he was killed by an assassin's bullet because he believed that every man and woman were equal. If you look at his life, and we all judge from the time we are born to our demise. Everybody likes to live a long life, and so do I. When we came up in school doing integration, we played ball with you. You hugged us. If you were in the band, you hugged us after a performance. At 26, he was gone by assassin bullet. That meant that Dr. King lived 13,665,600 minutes. Now, I remember back when I came to the General Assembly in 75, had members in the House that wouldn't even speak to me. I don't know why. But Dr. King said he wanted his kids not to be judged by their color, but by the content of their character. So, in my 47 years, I've taken that 60 seconds to use it. At age 71, I've spent 37,317,600 minutes. But my 47 years are 24,703,200 minutes. Now, I have the right to use that 60 seconds to make sure that I do the right thing. We've come to this General Assembly, and when you take Senate Bill 202, and you did it without any impunity because we won an election, I want you to know that what you did would only make us fight a little bit harder. So what I say today to all of you, that minute with 60 seconds in it, I have tried to use it for those 47 years. And it's time that we look at each other and decide that we're going to do the right thing. This bill with gun proliferations is ludicrous. We pass bills in here that a law enforcement officer who knows he arrested a convicted felon and sees something budging out of his pocket that he knows is a gun, but you passed a law in here that said that that officer cannot challenge that felon unless he do something to break the law. But he broke it, and he can't carry a concealed weapon or a gun without a pistol permit. And when you commit a felony, you have to have what they call a restoration of rights. That means you get all your rights back. To get a liquor license, to tote a pistol. But you've gone through scrutiny. But now we are talking about anybody that can go to a gun show, buy a gun. We don't know what his mental condition is or whether or not he's been involved in family violence. But yet we want to pass a bill that makes it hard on law enforcement officers because of proliferation of guns. Mr. President, that's my 60 seconds that I urge you to do the right thing.
Thank you, Senator. All right, we're going to pause for a moment here. Chair's going to recognize the Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate stand in recess for the purpose of convening a joint session to hear an address from the Chief Justice, and that upon the dissolution of that joint session, the Senate stand in recess until 1 p.m. today, at which time the Senate will reconvene.
The Majority Leader has moved that the Senate stand in recess until 1 p.m. today. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and we will stand in recess and be back for business at 1 p.m. back in this chamber. We've got a very busy day. Thank you. The Senate will come to order. The Senate will come to order. We'll pick up our business where we left off at for points of personal privilege. Are there any additional points of personal privilege? Chair would like to recognize the senator from the 29th for a point of personal privilege.
Colleagues, this is not a repeat of a point of personal privilege that I did week before last, but it's more of a continuation, because on this day 27 years ago, I was at the medical center in Columbus, Georgia, cutting the umbilical cord of my one and only son, Wiley Randall Seth Robertson. He is a young man that has inspired me to be a better man and a better father. He himself is the father of 3 small girls, with his 4th daughter due next month, to once again make me a proud grandfather. My son is a man of faith. He's a man of character, and he gets up every morning and works hard to take care of his wife and children as they take care of him. So it's extremely important to me today to recognize the most incredible gift that God could ever give to a type A personality as myself, than a good, strong, honest son. So to my son Seth, happy 27th birthday. God bless you. I love you, son. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Great words, Senator. Great words. The senator from the 3rd has asked for us to read a proclamation for some great guests back home. So we'll recognize you for a point of personal privilege, and then the secretary will read the proclamation. We'll go ahead and read the proclamation.
All right, those of who decided to laugh at me, I'd like to see you after this. Okay. I will start it and then you can wrap it up, okay? Whereas the state of Georgia, a proclamation, Okefenokee Swamp Day. Whereas the state of Georgia is blessed with the unrivaled beauty of the Okefenokee Swamp, the largest blackwater swamp in North America, and whereas the Okefenokee Swamp is recognized as one of Georgia's, one of Georgia's 7 natural wonders, and the natural area are unique not only for the state of Georgia, but also the United States of America and the world. The Okefenokee National Wildfire Refuge is being considered for nomination as a UNESCO. Whereas the Okefenokee Swamp spans 433,000 acres, with 93,000 of it protected as the National Okefenokee National Wildlife Refuge, including 353 acres designated as a National Wilderness Area by Congress, with the intent that it could remain developed and unimpaired for future generations. Georgia's Stephen C. Foster State Park lies ahead the Okefenokee National Wildlife Refuge and is designated as an international dark sky park, and the Okefenokee Swamp hosts more than 650,000 visitors by Americans and international tourists to Georgia as an annual basis, generating upwards of $64.7 million annually for the economy of Clinch, Ware, and Charlton County in Georgia, and Brantley County in Florida, creating some 750 swamp tourism-related jobs. And the Okefenokee Wilderness Canoe Travel is part of the Natural Water Trails system and is visited repeatedly by anglers and tourists seeking a true wildlife experience. The Okefenokee Swamp has inspired countless Georgia naturalists, artists, writers, and gave us our own, very own, opossum pogo possum. Therefore, I, Governor Kemp, do hereby proclaim February 8th as Okefenokee Swamp Day in Georgia.
Great job, Senator. Chair recognizes the senator from the 18th for a point of personal privilege.
We'll get a green light. Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, colleagues. I rise to share some comments. I don't want to address something that was discussed from the well of the Senate during points of personal privileges last week by our colleague, the senator from the 6th. You'll remember that she came to the well and talked about some things, some really difficult things going on over in the Augusta Judicial Circuit with regard to some gang members and the prosecution and the delay in that prosecution. And so I did a little looking into this because it seemed to cast our Attorney General, Chris Carr, in a way that didn't seem quite fair to how he does business and conducts his office. And so I did a little looking into this, and I want to share some of this information and just give you a more well-rounded picture of what's going on over there. this is a very difficult situation. You may remember, as the senator from the 6th said, it's the LOA street gang, that their activity that has produced 17 indictments and 54 counts against them. Well, we have a new district attorney in Augusta, and the new district attorney within the last 12 months or so has claimed a conflict, saying that he, as the DA and his office, cannot move forward to prosecute the folks that are the defendants in that situation. So what happens when that happens? Well, the Attorney General then has to go find a new prosecutor. That typically means going to a district attorney in the adjacent district, somewhere it would be close by, that they would have some information and be geographically close and understand what was going on. But the problem is that those DAs that the Attorney General goes to can, in fact, refuse and say that they don't want to for whatever reason, or they can say they don't have the resources, whatever the situation may be. And that's what happened in the Augusta matter. And in fact, the Attorney General has approached 5 different district attorneys trying to get someone to prosecute and continue what was already the prosecution of that case. As y'all know, Georgia's independently elected district attorneys are entrusted to defend and uphold the rule of law and protect their fellow citizens. Paramount to this duty is their sworn responsibility to prosecute those who commit violent crimes and endanger the lives of others. Those who are unable to move forward with prosecution due to their own conflict have the ability to submit the case to the Attorney General, as happened here, and then have it assigned to a different district attorney. As I said here, this case was indicted in 2017 and received renewed attention as the Attorney General's office ran into the roadblock with trying to get another DA within the last 12 months or so to take over the case, because the conflict didn't exist until the new district attorney took office. But remember, the Attorney General's office is not the prosecutor on the case. The Attorney General's office is merely serving as an administrative or in an administrative capacity as outlined by Georgia Code. Since receiving D.A. Williams' conflict letter in early of 2021, the Attorney General's office has committed a great deal of time and effort to requesting another DA take on the case. But the other DAs, unfortunately, as I told you, under the rules, are free to decline taking on this additional work. As I said, in fact, 5 different district attorneys have turned down this request. It's challenging enough to find a district attorney willing to take on a case of this large scale, as any attorney knows. But a sufficient prosecution will require significant amounts of time and resources, especially as that which was described last week, and as I have confirmed with regard to the size of this, the number of the defendants and the number of indictments. The Attorney General has in times past taken on the cases themselves to ensure that justice is served, but only when the case falls within their jurisdiction. For this conflict, the Attorney General's office is unable to handle the prosecution due to the limited staff, resources, and expertise, but most importantly, they currently do not have the authority to prosecute gang crimes. But the challenge in appointing another district attorney is further compounded by the fact that along with a 17-member, 54-charge gang indictment, the Augusta DA has submitted to Attorney General Carr's office more than 80 conflict cases spanning 800 pages. So you may wonder, how does that number compare to other years? What do attorney generals in other years have to deal with? Well, so I thought I'd take a look at that number. And in fact, in case you're wondering, in the year 2020, there were 178 conflict cases sent up to the Attorney General to get a different district attorney to handle it. In 2021, 486. It is a substantially larger workload on the Attorney General's office, and further complicated by the fact that he doesn't have, in fact, concurrent jurisdiction over this. The last thing I'll say, Mr. President, is thankfully, Attorney General Chris Carr is trying to do something about this. He has requested, and the House has passed House Bill 1134. I think it's passed out. It's been filed, which in fact would give the Attorney General's office concurrent authority to prosecute criminal gang activity. So I just wanted to round out the story and give y'all sort of the rest of the story, as the commentator used to say, of what's going on in Augusta, that in fact Attorney General Carr has been trying to get this matter reassigned, has been trying to get it prosecuted, and quite frankly, the complications and the conflict that initially created the situation was, of course, not of his own doing and nobody's fault. But I look forward to this House bill coming over so that our Attorney General, Chris Carr, at his request, can take on additional responsibilities in trying to stop gang activity in Georgia. And with that, I appreciate your attention, and Mr. President, I yield the well.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 31st. Senator, it was a point of personal privilege. You don't field questions during the points of personal privilege. Chair recognizes the senator from the 31st for a point of personal privilege.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to do this morning, but give a shout out. Today is Dyslexia Day. We've had numerous parents and kids and educators down here talking to state leaders, local leaders about the profound impacts dyslexia has had on so many of our families and our local communities. I wanted to share just a couple of quick facts about dyslexia in case you're not familiar with dyslexia. But dyslexia is a specific learning disability that is neurological in origin. Dyslexia is one of the most common learning disability affecting approximately 1 in 5 individuals and approximately 80% of all individuals with learning disabilities. And the condition is often unexpected because it affects those with high level of intelligence, but read at a very much lower level. And I know many of my friends and neighbors and local community, this has been a discussion of topic. And, you know, what are we doing around future investments, and what are we doing to support our families and our local community? So I just want to give those advocates, those parents, those kids who have been down here all day a shout out from the Georgia Senate, and we'll look forward to continue working with you. Thank you, Mr. President.
I want to take a quick second to recognize some special guests with us here today from back home in Forsyth County. We've got the Denmark High School FFA Club that's up here. If y'all would stand up for a minute, and I'd love to give you a Senate welcome. Callie's on the far left over there, and she grew up down the street from my boys. So thanks for taking good care of the Duncan boys, Callie. All right, we'd like to recognize the senator for what purpose does the senator from the 26th rise? He's not here, he waves. For what purpose does the senator from the 13th rise?
Mr. President, will you please excuse the senator from the 20th for business outside the Capitol?
The 20 what?
20th.
20th.
Yes,
Without
sir.
objection, the senator from the 20th is excused. The chair recognizes the senator from the 42nd for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. As the senator from the 31st said, today is Dyslexia Day at the Capitol, and I want to personally welcome the parents and students of Decoding Dyslexia Georgia. Decoding Dyslexia is a network of parent-led grassroots movements concerned with the limited access to educational interventions for dyslexia within Georgia's public schools. Decoding Dyslexia Georgia aims to raise dyslexia awareness, empower families to support their children, and inform policymakers on best practices to identify, remediate, and support students with dyslexia. Studies have shown that 1 in 5 people, 20%, struggle with reading despite having average to superior intelligence, which means that in every classroom in Georgia, there are up to 20% of children who need help with reading, writing, and/or spelling. Prior to the pandemic, only 32% of Georgia's students were reading proficiently by 7th grade. That's a literacy crisis for us. Children of color are disproportionately impacted by Georgia's abysmal literacy rates. Through advocacy efforts like Decoding Dyslexia and legislative proposals, we hope to see better training and intervention, as well as more funding to address dyslexia in our schools. I was very pleased that in last year's budget, money was first appropriated to deal with the dyslexia bill that the former senator from the 9th passed a few years ago, and we need to see continued investment in this. No child should feel isolated or different due to a learning disability. We are glad to welcome kids with dyslexia and their parents and advocates to the Capitol today. Thank you for joining me in welcoming Decoding Dyslexia for Dyslexia Day 2022. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 6th for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank the senator from the 18th for bringing more attention to this issue, because I really do think that is a significant problem in this state. Currently, across the state of Georgia, there are 170 conflict cases where there has not been a prosecutor appointed to take over. And as the senator from the 18th indicated, in 2021, there was a significant bump in the conflict cases, but that can be explained by the fact that there were several new district attorneys that were elected around the state. And so when they come in, they have to do the conflict check, right, with whatever is existing. And so you see a bump every time you have new DAs actually elected to the office. With respect to Augusta Richmond, absolutely. There are 80 conflict cases that still need a conflict prosecutor. And just like the senator from the 18th indicated, usually what you can do is you can go to a neighboring circuit and ask the district attorney to come in and take over the prosecution. That system has been flawed, in the past, but it's been able to work. But I think just like everything else in this state where there are certain issues and problems that we haven't really paid attention to in terms of the conflict process, I think COVID has shown us that it is broken. And like I said, you have 170 conflict cases where no prosecutor has been put on the case. 170. And listen, the district attorneys at the local level, they are doing everything they can with respect to what they have now. 2 years back in terms of criminal, 3 or 4 in terms of civil stuff for the judges. I mean, y'all, our folks are treading water. And so with respect to that, I think we absolutely need to look at this process. I think it needs to be fixed. If the Attorney General cannot take on these cases, and I would disagree with the senator from the 18th, the AG actually does have the ability to come in and prosecute even these gang cases if the local district attorney has basically turned the case over to him, which these cases have been turned over. So in terms of now broadening the Attorney General's jurisdiction with respect to gang prosecutions and also allowing the Attorney General to have his or her own police force, I don't think that it's necessary. But what I do think is necessary is actually trying to remedy the problem that we have in front of us so that we can make sure that, for example, in Augusta Richmond, that 3 people who have been accused of heinous crimes under the gang statute, will not walk free. That is the first priority, and it always should be, apart from politics and arguing back and forth. I yield the well.
All right, we're going to move along here at the ripe time of 1:21. You have a consent calendar of privilege resolutions before you. Does any senator wish to remove a resolution from the consent calendar? Is there objection to adoption of the resolutions in the consent calendar? The chair hears none, and the resolutions on the consent calendar are adopted. Okay. Are there any motions to withdraw and commit? The chair sees none. You have a consent calendar of local bills before you. Mr. Secretary, are there any objections filed to any bill on the local consent calendar?
Mr. President, there are no objections filed.
Is there objection to agreeing the report of the Committee on State and Local Government, which is favorable to the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar? The chair hears none. The question is now on the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar. All those in favor vote yea, opposed nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bills on the local consent calendar, the yeas are 47, the nays are 0. And the bills, having received the requisite constitutional majority, are therefore passed. All right, you've got a supplemental local consent calendar before you with a single bill on it. Mr. Secretary, have any objections been filed to the bill which appears on the supplemental consent calendar?
Mr. President, an objection has been filed by Senator Albers of the 56th, Kirkpatrick of the 32nd, and Beach of the 21st.
For what purpose does the majority whip rise?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll ask for unanimous consent to excuse the senators from the 27th and the 37th and the 29th.
27th, 37th?
No, forget 27. 29th and the 37th.
Without objection, the senators from the 29th and 37th are excused. The chair recognizes the senator from the 56th to speak. Oh, Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Senate Bill number 437, a bill by Senator Albers of the 56th and others, a bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Fulton County and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on State and Local Governmental Operations recommends that this bill do pass. Respectfully submitted, Senator Anderson of the 24th District Chairman.
This is a floor substitute offered by Albers of the 56th, down to Commissioner Districts. It's a floor substitute offered by a senator from the 56th.
A floor substitute from the senator from the 56th. A bill to be entitled an act to amend an act creating the Board of Commissioners of Fulton County, approved December 3rd, 1880, as amended, particularly by an act approved May 6, 2013, by an act approved May 2nd, 2017, so as to change the description of the commissioner districts and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
For what purpose does the senator from the 34th rise?
Unanimous consent to excuse the senator from the 33rd.
Without objection, the senator from the 33rd is excused. The chair recognizes the senator from the 56th to speak to the bill.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senators, this is a substitute bill for the Fulton County redistricting process. I want to thank the senator from the 6th, the rest of our delegation, and those over at Fulton County who helped get us the information to come up with the map. It is not the original bill at all. This is simply for redistricting, and our entire delegation is unanimous in supporting it. I'd ask for your favorable consideration. If there are no questions, I'll yield the well.
You have a question. The chair recognizes the senator from the 26th with a question.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will it
my friend.
This bill that you're talking about is reapportionment and drawing lines.
That is correct.
You have the blessing of the entire Fulton delegation?
Yes, sir. I think if you'll turn to your left, you will see that we're all in line. Thank you.
That is an affirmation of hope. You have no more questions.
Thank you.
Does any other senator wish to speak for or against Senate Bill 437 or the floor substitute offered by the senator from the 56th? The chair sees none. All right, first we'll take up the substitute offered by the senator from the 56th. Is there objection to the substitute offered by the senator from the 56th? The chair hears none, and the substitute offered by the senator is adopted. I'd now like to recognize the senator from the 56th for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd ask unanimous consent that Senate Rule 7-1.6 be suspended to allow for immediate final consideration of Senate Bill 437.
Senator from the 56th has asked for unanimous consent that the Senate rules be suspended to allow the Senate to move to final consideration of the bill rather than laying over until the next legislative day. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and we will proceed to a vote. All those in favor of Senate Bill 437 by substitute will vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 54, the nays are 0, and Senate Bill 437, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. Chair recognizes the senator from the 56 for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move the Senate immediately transmit Senate Bill 437 and all the other local consent calendar bills to the House.
Senator from the 56 has asked that all local bills be immediately transmitted to the House. Is there objection? The chair hears none, and all of today's local bills have been immediately transmitted. Chair recognizes the majority leader for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that Senate Bill 370 be engrossed.
Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption?
Might as well do the whole.
Okay.
Senate Bill number 370, a bill by Senators Cowser of the 46 and others. A bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the OCGA relating to income taxes so as to enact the Fostering Success Act to provide for tax credits for certain contributions made by taxpayers to certain foster child support organizations and for other purposes. The Senate Committee on Finance recommends that this bill do pass by substitute.
Go ahead and read the substitute down to organizations.
Senate Finance offers the following substitute to Senate Bill 370, a bill to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 7 of Title 48 of the OCGA relating to income taxes so as to enact the Fostering Success Act to provide for tax credits for certain contributions made by taxpayers to certain foster child support organizations and for other purposes. That completes the order, Mr. President.
The majority leader has moved that Senate Bill 370 be engrossed. Is there objection? There is objection. Would the majority leader waves? Would you like to speak to your objection? Senator from the 26th.
Thank you, Mr. President. The only reason I am objecting, you didn't put a cost to it. Ladies and gentlemen, let me say this to you. You keep giving tax credits. What you going to replace the general fund with? Give me a number. I heard they were talking about exempting the retirement of veterans in Georgia. $70 million. Now, I can do a lot with $70 million. So give us a figure. That's going to come up here carte blanche and talk about a credit and not give us the opportunity to know how much it's going to cost.
Senator has yielded the well. All those in favor of engrossing Senate Bill 370, vote yea. Opposed, nay. The Secretary will unlock the machine. On the motion, the yeas are 32, the nays are 22, and Senate Bill 370 is engrossed. We're now going to move on to the rules calendar. Mr. Secretary, for what purpose does the senator from the 42nd rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. President, is there a requirement that the fiscal note be attached to this legislation in our binder?
The finance chair just informed me that they're sending it up right now from the committee up to the floor.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
President.
you for the question. Appreciate it. Mr. Secretary, can you please read the caption to Senate Bill 370? He informed me he's already read it. Chair would like to recognize a senator from the 46th to speak to Senate Bill 370. For what purpose does the senator from the 19th rise? He waves.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, pleasure to be with you today to present this bill, the Fostering Success Act. Some of you may already be wondering, why am I carrying a tax credit bill? I have, for many years, developed a reputation for voting against any special interest tax credits. And I don't like to see us favor one industry over another or pick winners and losers in the economic system. And I'd love to see us reduce everybody's tax rates, and I think we could do that better if we don't give out credits left and right. So the Lieutenant Governor's staff was a little bit timid when they called me and asked if I might consider carrying this bill, but I gladly volunteered to carry this bill, because this tax credit is taking public funds and using them for public purposes. And they are great, vital purposes here to protect our aging out foster kids, to help them make it in the world. I'm inspired by 2 or 3 different individuals that gave me an interest in foster care. I'm amazed by the foster parents out there and what a wonderful job they do so selflessly, helping raise children that no longer have their parents with them. One is Lieutenant Governor. He and I have been in the Legislative Prayer Fellowship together for many, many years now, and I've seen his heart and his interest in these children and really the less fortunate throughout society. And when I knew this was important to him, I asked him to explain it to me, which he did in great detail. And I saw that passion, and I wanted to help him accomplish this goal. The next is Mr. Rick Jackson, many of you may have heard of, from Cumming, Georgia, Jackson Healthcare, very well-to-do gentleman that had one of the roughest childhoods you'll ever hear about. His daddy left before he was a year old. He went through a series of 7 different stepfathers, many very abusive. By the time he was age 13, he entered the foster care system, bounced from several homes, ended up making it in the world, thanks to many of those families that were willing to take him in and care for him and nurture him through those teenage years. Mr. Jackson's called me a number of times as we were developing this bill and given his suggestions and his ideas, and they've been invaluable to somebody that came through the foster care system and thrived afterwards. The last are a couple that were my next door neighbors for about 3 years here recently, Erin and Lindsey Cabin. Some of you may know Lindsey, she's Coach Ray Goff's daughter. They had 3 children of their own and a revolving door of teenage foster kids coming through their home, and we were right next door. And to see their nurturing of these children that were not their own through their roughest teen years was just downright inspiring to see how valuable these foster homes are. So this bill is not for special interest. It's for a public interest. When we look at the purpose of government, we have several basic functions that are really best provided to us as a group. Healthcare, education, public safety, transportation, those are all areas that take massive investment, group participation, and we need the pooled resources of our taxpayers for government to step in those areas. Government also has an obligation to provide for those who are unable to take care of themselves, the elderly, the disabled, and children. The foster care system takes care of children who don't otherwise have a parent to raise them. Either their parents are deceased, in jail, addicted, unable to care for their children. And it takes care of kids up until they're age 18. At that point, the child can enter into an agreement with DFACS to continue in the system. Sometimes they're lucky enough to have been adopted and get out of the system, or else they're just out. And we call that aging out kids, because once they're an adult, there's no longer a foster care home provided for them. But fortunately, Georgia, through the good works of a number of foster child support organizations, help these children. And I call them children even though they're 18. Any of you that have kids realize a child isn't grown at 18 and is not really able to make it in the world, not in a successful manner, without family support. And these kids have none once they leave the foster care system. But thank goodness, these foster child support organizations give them services to help them with their education. We passed a bill last year to help the technical college system of Georgia provide education to these children that are aged out foster kids. I think the Board of Regents is working on a similar program now for the university system. These organizations provide a variety of services to kids that are aging out of foster care, and we consider children that are 16 to 18 that are preparing to leave their foster care as an aging out child, as well as those once they hit 18 up until they're 21 years old. What we're trying to focus on is getting them an education so that they can be self-sufficient in the world and provide for themselves and their families, because without that, in gainful employment, they flounder. They have a very rough go of it. And what we have found, there are statistics that will just make you want to cry. 70% or more of the females coming out, aging out of foster care, get pregnant as essentially teenagers. A great percentage, more than 50% of the kids that are caught up in this sex trafficking came from a foster care environment. 50 to 60% of those children came from foster care. Especially on males, it's mind-boggling. More than 50% of them will be incarcerated within a year of being out of foster care. That's a burden on all of us, and we've got to give these children a better chance to make it. Education's going to be the key, and there are wraparound services that these foster child support organizations grant them. Of course, paying for the cost, helping with the cost of their education, their medical expenses, health care, their housing, vocational services, counseling services, mentorship. Think about it when you got out of high school. How were you going to take on the world? You know, the senator from the 2nd told some great stories when he was in the Navy in committee. It'd be Thanksgiving, and those young men in the Navy, he would ask them, you know, where are you guys going for Thanksgiving? I believe he told us there was like 8 of them one year he took home to his house in Savannah to take care of. They had no family support. Well, that's crucial when you've got a mom or a dad or somebody to show you what's expected, that you need to work, how to work to keep you out of trouble, et cetera. So we see a lot of mentoring for these kids that is fantastic. Transportation and other monthly living expenses is what they need to give them that crutch to transition into adulthood. So this bill addresses that in a very simple way. It helps fund these foster child support agencies by giving tax credits to individuals who will contribute to these qualified organizations. They are 501c3 nonprofit organizations. They're not in it for the money. They're in it to help these children. This bill will allow a single taxpayer a credit up to $2,500, a married couple up to $5,000, and if you're a partner or a shareholder in a sub-S corporation, up to $5,000. Senator from the 26th, you raised a great question. I want to get you to look on the fine print of this bill, though. There is a financial cap. It's $20 million, and this will cost the state no more than that. And you'll find that at page 4 on lines 68 and 69. So this is not some irresponsible government program that can balloon into many, many dollars. We got a $30 billion budget now. We're looking at $20 million. This will begin in tax year 2023, January of 23. The organizations are required to apply to be qualified by DFACS. And there are a few other really important terms I wanted you to know to give you comfort that this is the right thing for us to do. Number one is transparency. You'll see if you look in the details, lines 159 to 169, what these organizations are required to report on an annual basis. All of their contributions, all of their expenditures, etc. There's another area that's on lines 196 to 197 that limits these organizations to how much of their contributions can be spent for administrative cost. Essentially, they are required to spend 80% of all the dollars they get on these children, on the qualified expenses, those areas I went through. So you're not feathering the nest of people that are involved in this business. And finally, at lines 184 and 186, an individual donor cannot handpick the child that they want the money, the benefits to go to. You're not able to designate which child will receive benefits. You can pick which organization, and there's over 25 of them now. Hopefully there'll be many more of them once this funding stream comes into play. But you can give to the organization, but they decide what children to give to. I'm very proud to be able to bring this, and I hope that we have unanimous support here today, just as we did in the Finance Committee. I'm happy to answer any questions that any of you may have or concerns about the legislation.
Chair recognizes the senator from the 26th to your right with a question.
Senator, do you yield?
I yield to my friend from the 26th.
And I consider you my friend. I'm not opposed to this, but what I am trying to let everybody know, that when you take 20 million over here, 70 million over there, who gonna replace the money and how we gonna replace it? That's my only question about it, period. I think it's good because I've seen these homes where these foster kids come out of. But my only reservation, because I'm gonna support the bill, but my only reservation is that we need to look at when we take 20 over here and 70 over there, that gets to be a lot of money. And I can do something with that kind of money.
Well, I appreciate that question because obviously as a fiscal conservative, that's the kind of thing that concerns me. But we started crunching some of these numbers. And as these kids end up in the prison system, you and I are paying for that. And it's a whole lot more than this tax credit. When they're having babies, when they're 18, that are going on welfare, you and I are paying for that. When they're educated and get a job, they then are paying us income taxes and sales taxes that help us recoup this money. I don't know that it's possible to do a precise calculation, but last year there were 570 kids that fit this category. And if you can think during their lifetime how much more productive members of society they'll be, I think this is one heck of an investment. I bet it returns itself many-fold. But I do appreciate your fiscal conservatism and your question.
Chair recognizes our good friend, the senator from the 32nd, with a question.
Senator, do you yield?
I yield.
Senator, isn't it true that a lot of times we are very reactive here in the legislature, and that this is an opportunity for us to be proactive and really make a difference for years in the future?
Absolutely, Senator.
Thank you.
You have no more questions.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate your favorable consideration.
Chair recognizes the chairman of the Finance Committee. Speak to the measure.
Thank you, Mr. President. First off, I do want to apologize that this fiscal note wasn't attached. It should have been with the bill, and apparently it wasn't. You know, our president, when he came to the Finance Committee, he said, "You're a whole lot nicer now in the committee than when I came over as a House member. You didn't seem to like tax credits too much." We are nicer, I'm sure, but we also require a fiscal note, and it was required on this from everyone, of course. And this bill, I want to refer back to another bill that a House member did that was also supported by our president here and many of us, that increased the credit for adopting foster children. We knew that there was a problem there, and we raised it from $2,000 to $6,000, and that's over several years. I believe the family gets it. Now, anybody that thinks the state can take care of one of these children for $6,000, I don't know the exact number, but I don't think it's $6,000. I'm sure it's considerably more than that. So that passed, and we have a habit here of not going back and looking at things and saying, did this make any sense or not? Did we do anything? And, you know, we've pushed on the Finance Committee to go back and study some of these things. I went back, this hasn't been an official study, but I went and looked back because it's a big problem in our state. We had over 14,000 children in foster care. Now, I'm sure some more got added, some more aged off. You think it'd stay the same, go up a little bit with the population. But then I looked and we were under 11,000. So that's 3,000 children that now have permanent homes. You know, I'm the finance chair. Money I look at, and I look at it and I can say this credit that we did to 6,000 makes a lot of sense. It saved the state money. But we also had 3,000 children plus that are in permanent homes that won't be 18 and needing the help from this bill. This bill will help children that age out that have nobody. This is an important time for them. They need their technical college education, a little bit of mentoring, no parents at all. They weren't adopted. It will save the state money, in my opinion. As the senator spoke, we don't have the data on that yet, but I have no doubt this will save the state money. You see the fiscal note on there. I think everybody's got it on their desk. There's no cost in 22. The state auditor and Office of Planning and Budget have signed off about a $13.5 million cost in 24. They think it'll be just about maxed out along 26, 27 at the $19.9 million, $20 million. I think it's money well spent. And the question is, where do we get the money from? The state revenue, as you saw this month, was up again, many months in a row, 15%. It's not dividing the pipe, it's making the pie bigger. We've done stuff from marketplace facilitator to data analytics that the Department of Revenue is getting those that weren't paying their taxes, to bringing in a record number of businesses into Georgia, continuing to be the #1 state to do business. All those are accumulating to make the revenue grow that lets us do some things that we would like to do. And that's where the money comes from. It's a balanced approach. There's things we're going to do in a lot of areas this year that we couldn't do in the past. You'll still see them coming to us. And it's nice to be able to do the things that we want to do to help the people in the state of Georgia improve their lives. This bill will help the people in the state of Georgia. It will help the least of these, the vulnerable that need that help at age 18. If there's no questions, I yield the will.
You have no more questions. Does any other senator wish to speak for or against the measure? The chair sees none. The question is on the adoption of the committee substitute. Is there objection to adoption of the committee substitute? The chair hears none, and the committee substitute is adopted. Is there objection to agreeing to the report of the committee which is favorable to the passage of the bill? Chair hears none. The report of the committee is agreed to. Is there objection to the main question being ordered? The chair hears none, and the main question is ordered. The question is on the passage of the bill by substitute. All those in favor vote yea. Opposed, nay. The secretary will unlock the machine. On the passage of the bill, the yeas are 55, the nays are 0. This bill, having received the requisite constitutional majority, is therefore passed by substitute. I want to take a moment to thank the senator from the 46th and others, as we've gotten an important message, a unanimous message to the hundreds of foster kids that age out each and every year that we support them. And we hope to see a positive outcome over in the House. Thank you so much. Chair recognizes the majority leader for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. on February the 10th, 2022.
Are you sure?
I lost my card.
Mr. Secretary, do you have any announcements you'd like to make?
The Rules Committee will meet upon adjournment today in 4:50. The Health and Human Services Committee has been rescheduled to Wednesday, February 9th at 10 o'clock in 4:50. The Public Safety Committee has been canceled, and the Regulated Industries and Utilities Committee will meet in 4:50 at 3 p.m. today, and the Judiciary Committee will meet in 3:07 at 4 p.m. today in the CLOB. That completes the order, Mr. President.
Chair recognizes the Appropriations Chair for an announcement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the Senate, our colleagues across the hall, the House, have been working diligently on the amended budget, and we expect that they will be moving it out likely the end of this week, the beginning of next week. So we're going to go ahead and tee up for our meetings. They're aware of this. We've coordinated it with them, so it's not a surprise to them. Just want to give you a rough schedule if you're a member of the Appropriations Committee for when your committees will meet. We expect the Public Safety Subcommittee to meet at 7 a.m. on Monday, the Community Health Subcommittee to meet at 7 a.m. on Monday, the Higher Ed and Education Subcommittee to meet at 8 a.m. on Monday, the Economic Development Subcommittee to meet at 1 p.m. on Monday, the Government Operations Committee to meet at 1 p.m. on Monday, and the Judicial Subcommittee to meet at 5 p.m. on Monday. Tuesday morning, we'll start again with Senator Watson and Human Development at 8 a.m., Senator Walker at 8 a.m., and Transportation at 5 p.m. If you have any questions about that, feel free to grab me. Again, I appreciate the subcommittee chairs and the committee members for being so free with their time to make this happen quickly as we work to move through the amended budget. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the well.
Your time has expired, Senator. Just kidding. Does any other senator wish to make an announcement? The chair sees none. The majority leader has moved that the Senate stand adjourned until 10 a.m. Thursday, February 10th, 2022. Is there objection? Or all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. We can stay open if you want. The ayes have it, and the Senate stands adjourned.